Now, let's jump into some of the behind the scenes. Some of these clips don't have sound, so don't freak out if you don't hear anything. We will hear sound when we need to hear sound. A lot of these clips, people put on Instagram with licensed music, or not licensed, but like copyright music, like popular music. So I have to always cut out that audio if I get any of that. So let's jump in, and Donna says, can I make the screen a little bit bigger and me a little bit smaller? I can't, because it's a vertical image, so it's as big as I can possibly make it without cutting anything out. I could make it bigger, but then we'd cut out the top and bottom of the frame. You see what I'm saying? Because it's a vertical image, it's all from Instagram and stuff, so it's all going to be vertical like that. I can't make it any bigger, unfortunately. Sorry about that. But let's jump in here. So we've got this cart here. I want you to keep this cart in mind because we're going to see it a lot tonight. And this is obviously a man that's driving this. What do we notice about this man? Well, this man is definitely not Jewish. He's very white. He's very Roman looking in appearance, or at least not Jewish in appearance. He may be something else, but definitely not Jewish. Definitely looks more Roman to me. And the cart itself is not of Jewish design, at least in my opinion. And so yeah, definitely an interesting person, but I'm interested to see who this is exactly. I'm sure it's just a driver, and we're going to talk about for who in just a little bit. So again, here's another shot of that cart. Nobody in the back at the moment, but they're just kind of getting shots of it. Again, another shot of this cart here. It looks like someone is in the back of this cart this time. If we look closely, let me back up a little bit there so we can see that again. For anybody that missed it at the beginning of the stream, I am back in Florida just for a little bit. I'm going to a retreat soon, and so I decided to come a little bit early to see friends and family. And so this is the church that I used to pastor at. Behind me here. Here we got somebody in the back of the cart. I think we got somebody in the back of the cart. We'll talk about who I think that is later. Now here is an image that basically is going to be the majority of our stream tonight. We're going to be talking about this. Now, we obviously know that this is John the Baptist, and he is not looking good. Dallas shared this image pretty early on in the week, like day 1 or 2 of this week. This is going to be a very intense moment for us in season 4. We know that season 5 is Holy Week. Dallas has talked about that many times. And so for us, it means that there's a lot of things that we know are going to happen in season 4. Now, John being executed is one of those things. John the Baptist dies. And so we know that this is going to happen. He doesn't get a trial. He doesn't get, the normal things. He is just executed because someone wants him to die. Now, before we go any further, let's go ahead and dig into the scripture that's behind John, and we'll read through some of this, and we will have a better idea of what we're looking at here. So the first section that I want to read is in Matthew 14, if you want to follow along. And here we go. We're starting right here at verse 1. It says, "At the time Herod the Tetrarch heard about the fame of Jesus, and he said to his servants, 'This is John the Baptist. He has been raised from the dead.'" So to give context, when we're starting this chapter, Herod has already killed John, but then he goes back and he talks about this story here. So he says, "This is John the Baptist. He's been raised from the dead. That is why these miraculous powers are at work in him. For Herod had seized John and bound him and put him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, because John had been saying to him, 'It is not lawful for you to have her.' And though he wanted to put him to death, he feared the people because they held him to be a prophet. But when Herod's birthday came, the daughter of Herodias, in other words, his niece or stepdaughter, very weird relationship there, right? The daughter of Herodias danced before the company and pleased Herod, so that he promised with an oath to give her whatever she might ask. Prompted by her mother, she said, 'Give me the head of John the Baptist here on a platter.'" So her mom prompts her to say that. So this is a very intense time, right? And I hope we get to see this scene play out, because I would love to see this scene. It would be so intense, but we know that the seasons overall are going to get darker and darker and darker. And so being able to see this It would just be so intense, but I would love to see it for sure. She says, "Give me the head of John the Baptist on a platter." And the king was sorry because he didn't really want to do this, but because of his oaths and his guests, he commanded it to be given. He sent and had John beheaded in the prison. So he's in the prison, he's beheaded in the prison. And his head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, and she brought it to her mother. And his disciples came and took the body and buried it, and they went and told Jesus. So really, really intense scene. The other place that we see this is in Mark 6, so let's go ahead and read that portion as well, just so that we can have a clear idea and add any extra stuff if we can. So King Herod heard of it. What he's talking about here is this last section, which is where Jesus is doing different things. He's sending out the 12 apostles and all that stuff here. So he's hearing of this stuff. King Herod heard of it, for Jesus' name had become known. Some said John the Baptist has been raised from the dead. That is why these miraculous powers are at work in him. So it's a rumor that Herod had heard, or a rumor that other people had brought up, that maybe he's John the Baptist raised from the dead. But others said he is Elijah, and others said he is a prophet, like one of the prophets of old. But when Herod heard of it, he said, John, who I'm beheaded, has been raised. So he's convinced that this is John the Baptist raised from the dead. For it was Herod who had sent and seized John and bound him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife. Again, he is with Herodias, but it's his brother's wife, and his niece is also his stepdaughter. It's a very strange relationship here, for sure. So his brother Philip's wife, because he had married her, for John had been saying to Herod, "It is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife." It's just gross. It's pretty gross. And Herodias had a grudge against him and wanted to put him to death, but she could not, for Herod feared John, knowing that he was a righteous and holy man, and he kept him safe. When he heard him, he was greatly perplexed, and yet he heard him gladly. So Herod was listening to John, and he was really confused as to what John is saying and kind of what's going on. But he was really glad to hear what John said. He was happy to hear what John said, almost like an entertainment, or at least he was getting a little bit of what John was saying. It was making him happy, but he wasn't fully, he didn't fully understand the whole situation. But an opportunity came when Herod, on his birthday, gave a banquet for his nobles and military commanders and leading men of Galilee. For when Herodias' daughter came in and danced, she pleased Herod and his guests. And he said to the girl, "Ask me for whatever you wish, and I will give it to you." And he vowed to her, "Whatever you ask me, I will give you, up to half my kingdom." So he's saying, I will give you anything you want, up to half the kingdom. It's pretty crazy. And she went out and said to her mother, "For what should I ask?" And she said, "The head of John the Baptist." And she came in immediately with haste to the king and asked, saying, "I want you to give me at once the head of John the Baptist on a platter." And the king was exceedingly sorry, but because of his oaths and his guests, he did not want to break his word to her. And immediately the king sent an executioner with orders to bring John's head. He went and beheaded him in the prison, and brought his head on a platter and gave it to the girl. And the girl gave it to her mother. When his disciples heard of it, they came and took his body, and they laid it in a tomb. So they buried him, just like we saw before. Now, if we look at what we're seeing in the behind the scenes here, right? Real quick before we continue, I gotta let you know that subscribers mean a ton on YouTube. And right now, only about 39% of all of our viewers are subscribed. So it's really simple. All you gotta do is hit that subscribe button beneath this video, and that would mean a lot to me. Anyway, let's get back to the video. This is clearly John in the prison about to be executed. And there's a lot of evidence for that in the stuff that we're about to see today. But this is a very intense moment, right? You can see how emaciated he looks, how skinny and how gaunt he looks, how dirty and how long his beard and his hair has gotten. He looks way worse than he did even when we saw him in season 3. He's obviously been in the prison for quite a while at this point, and he's already at the end of his rope, even without the execution that's about to come to him, right? And so this is a very intense moment for him. But let's continue on, and we'll kind of see what else we see in the behind the scenes here. So we see the Chain Gang, and again, I've put this in order. A lot of these things were posted out of order or in different areas. I've kind of amalgamated them all and put them in the order that I think is best to tell the story here. But we've got John the Baptist, and then we see him again here. Now I've looked at the different outfits, and this is clearly John the Baptist. We see his seat on the bottom of his robe here. We also see the same outer garment that he was wearing in the other picture that we just left from, but this is chains that are being put on his feet here to, you know, have him be in chains as he's being escorted. Then also we see another picture here. Now I know this is John the Baptist because again we're seeing the chains on his hands, and whoever posted this picture has covered up his face because they didn't want to leak anything, but Dallas leaked it himself, so it's all good. We also see that this is the same room that picture is from, and we can kind of explain that later, but we see the Roman guards that were behind John in that previous picture here with him as well. And so this is this is clearly the prison where he was kept, and there's some other really good clues coming up as well. But we see him here in this room as he's being, you know, chained up and brought in front of somebody. I assume an executioner or something else that kind of an authority figure within the prison would be my guess. Now I've zoomed in here so that we can see again his face is covered up, but you can see clearly that his outfit, his costume, you see the chains there, and you see the same costume that we saw both in the chains image and in the image of John's face, so we can kind of put that all together. And so here is the room that he's in, and I'm pausing it right here because it's hard to get a good pause. Let me try to get a good pause here. I'm pausing it here because yeah, there we go. This is showing the little desk in the room. So this is the same room that everything, according to John the Baptist, has been kind of associated with so far. We see this room here. We see the torches. We see the Roman guards. We see John the Baptist standing in this room, and we see the SPQR. So remember, this is an indicative of the Romans. This is, you know, their I forget what it stands for. It's like Senatus Populus. Populus Romano, right? Yeah, Senatus Populus Romano is the kind of phrasing from the SPQR, and we see that clearly here. Let me put my computer on Do Not Disturb so we don't get any more noises. Yeah, so as we continue on, we see that this room is the same room that we've been in. We can tell that by the ceiling here. We can actually match that to the previous photo. So this is the same room that we see John in. This person that's standing in the middle of the frame is actually his stand-in to get the lighting correct in this specific moment. We also see as they're kind of setting up the rest of the room here. And then you can see out this window is just the set. They have this big light coming in the window to kind of be a sun for the project. So really cool.
Oh, that's a big light.
There's also this room here, which I think might be the outside of the synagogue. And maybe they've put up a big tent here. I think that might be what it is. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. But it does look like the same stairs. We'll check that in a bit because we do have a scene from the outside of the synagogue that we're going to look at. So,
well, good morning.
Now here is really interesting. Another part adding to our John, understanding of what's going to happen in season 4. John will die. Who's going to bring the bad news of John dying? I think it's definitely going to be Joanna. Now, Jesus may sense that John has already died. From the previous scenes we've seen in week 1, we saw that Jesus has a really emotional scene where he falls on his knees. He may sense that John the Baptist has already died. However, I think Joanna is going to be the one that actually tells everybody else, hey, John was executed, right? So she comes into town, and I think she's going to be the one to tell everybody. This is going to be a super emotional scene for Andrew. Can you imagine? Andrew dealing with all the stuff that he's dealt with. It's going to be a really, really heavy scene for him. So I'm interested to see how that goes. But let's continue on. Let's hear from the actress who plays Joanna. She jokes around a little bit, but she does show us a little bit behind the scenes and a cool moment. So here we go.
Hey, everybody. Just woke up like this. No, I did not. I am on set again for The Chosen, season 4. Here we are.
I already tried to freeze frame every single frame of when she shows this paper, so I could try to find any information, and it's too blurry. It's too she moves it around too fast, so it's kind of motion blurred. So no, not really any information here, unfortunately. I was really hoping to find some key information within that paper, but couldn't find any really.
That's all I can show you. And really, really happy to have seen the cast again. Sorry, I'm dropping everything. Got to see these beautiful people again this morning. I haven't seen all of them for about a year, and they are really phenomenal. This is such a great show to work on. Everybody's so cool and talented and kind, and I'm very honored to be back. So my character Joanna gets to wear fabulous jewels. I have all these things I'll be putting on shortly. And last year they gave me this amazing crown to wear. But
these are pretty cool. We'll stop right here for a second. So she has all of these photos on her desk, and what these are for is reference photos, so that when she's getting dressed and she's getting ready, she can put things on exactly as they were for season 3 when she was first introduced. So this is showing her, hey, if you don't remember how to put all this stuff on, or where it's located, what bracelet goes where, what headdress goes where, here's the photos so that you can go back and wear it exactly as you need to, basically. So pretty cool that she has those, and interesting to see how things work behind the scenes there.
I'm thinking of switching it up a little bit. Whether or not costume likes it, I think they'll like it. But I think I'm just gonna go ahead and, they say if you're an actor, make a bold choice. So I'm just gonna make a choice and show up for my first scene in a different crown. So let me know what you think.
So obviously she's joking about wearing this hat as the new crown for Joanna. But I thought that was very funny. But cool to see that she's back. We're also going to see her in some of the behind the scenes footage we have right now, but she's kind of hidden. So now that we know she's on set, we can definitely say that it's Joanna. Joanna is the woman who in season 3 not only gave money to the ministry of Jesus, but also helped Andrew to get to Machaerus, which is where John the Baptist is held in prison. So she is in the Bible. She's actually a biblical character, and Joanna is the wife of Chusa, and Chusa works for Herod in his court. So a pretty important character biblically because she helps to supply money for the ministry in a lot of ways. She's mentioned along with Mary Magdalene and Susanna in Luke chapter 6. Somebody fact check me on that, but I think it's Luke chapter 6 or something similar to that. So here we get a little bit of behind the scenes. I just have a still frame here of a woman, looks like, wearing a purple outer garment, maybe because she's trying to hide. I think this is Joanna, first of all, and I think she is actually hiding on purpose because she's trying to deliver this message that John has been executed without causing any, unrest or anything. And remember, if she is going to Capernaum to deliver this message, which it looks like she probably is, if she's going to Capernaum to deliver this message, then she's going to go to a Jewish area. She doesn't really want to walk around as, in the middle of all these Jews as a Roman woman, right? She doesn't want to be stood out like that, or at least be seen in public like that, because she'd want to, kind of hide that in the background. Not that she would really care, but that other people would kind of mess with her, or at least say something to someone else, and she wants to keep it on the down low, right? And so I believe this is as Joanna is gonna go and tell the rest of the group what's happened to John, but we'll see. Now, in particular, I kept this little piece in here, not just the still frame, but the video, because I wanted to listen to this song, because there's a particular reason. This is a post from Tyler, one of the writers of the show, and he in particular puts this song here because I think it's telling us what the scene is without telling us what the scene is, if you understand what I mean. So let's listen to this song real fast, and then I'll kind of explain what I mean here.
You're a good person because you won't punch me in the stomach.
So what that's saying there is, you think you're a good person because you won't punch me in the stomach. And so I think what he's telling us there is that this scene is really going to hurt, one, or Joanna's going to try to sugarcoat what's happening instead of just straight up telling them the truth. And so it'll be interesting to see how Joanna navigates that. How is she going to tell the rest of the group what's happening, and how is she going to, get into this whole situation? She's a hard one because she's on the Roman side of things, but she also she's a follower of John now, and now a follower of Jesus, right? Who is trying to figure out the right things to do in all of these situations. So it's just really hard. I can't imagine being in that situation there as far as this. But now this is really interesting. This kind of solidified everything for me, talking about John the Baptist and seeing him executed. Now they have this axe on set, and Dallas is kind of messing with it, seeing how he wants it to be used. This could be one of two things. One, this could be Dallas showing us that he's trying to see how he wants this execution scene to go. I don't know if they're going to show John being beheaded. Obviously, in the Bible, we see John's head actually on a platter, and that's given to Herodias, so it's a pretty gruesome scene. I do hope they do a little bit of that, but I don't think Dallas is going to lean into the gore or anything like that. They could also just not show the scene at all and just show the aftermath of the scene and what's actually happening. Maybe Joanna's response to it, and then the disciples' response to it, and Jesus' response to it. Maybe those are like the things they'll actually do. However, it also could be, it could be that Dallas is showing us this just to mess with us, right? Because he's not actually going to show the scene, but he wants us to think that he is. I don't know. I don't know how far Dallas thinks in advance about us, the lowly behind the scenes watchers, but but yeah. So let's check out the scene. He's just kind of seeing how the axe works and how he wants to shoot it, how he wants the person to move, etc. So you can see, like, it seems like it's pretty straightforward. Like, he's pretty focused. He's not like playing around or just being like, just like messing with it. So it seems pretty straightforward. Like he is testing it to see for the scene, would be my guess. And so his message to us is, make of this what you will. And he also says in the caption, season 4 is different. So I don't know. Keep that in mind.
Sir.
Fast forward here real fast. Again, we're seeing more of this cart. So again, this is what we believe to be Joanna's cart as she arrives to Capernaum. We don't ever really see her in the behind the scenes in this cart, though. As far as I can tell, we can't really see into the cart too well, especially when those like shades are closed. So yeah. I hope you like this short part of our weekly live stream. If you want to see all the behind the scenes and everything that we talked about during this live stream, just go over to our Patreon at patreon.com/thesnipelife. This is easily the best way that you can help to support us, and it's super cheap at just $5. And if you want to do more than that, you certainly can. So we'll see you over there if you want to do that, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace.